Foundry.com. Resource Center. Screenplay. Part of the episode 8 is the trying to make sense of what happened in the other 7 episodes, and Wanda's relationship to sitcoms and why they're so important to her. And then we find out that she and her twin brother, Pietro, when they were growing up, would soothe themselves and comfort themselves with old DVDs of sitcoms, living in this oppressive world that they lived in. And so this is a flashback to when she lost her brother and he died, and she's now becoming connected back to the sitcoms and watching them on DVD as a way to sort of it's kind of like in Rabbit Hole when the father's sitting watching old VHS tapes of his son, like he just can't let go, like she just can't let go. So the relationship to what we're watching on television is incredibly important. And the point of it is that she nearly lost her soul when she lost her brother, and then she went to sitcoms as a way to soothe herself. So when she loses Vision in the final Avenger movies, where she actually has to herself euthanize him in order to try to save the world, and then she watches him get killed by Thanos, the death of the man that she loves after having lost her brother as well, after having lost her parents in the first place, is all just too much loss for her and grief. And she has a breakdown and she goes crazy, and then she invents this world of sitcoms that she can live in, where she rebuilds the man that she loved. So now we go, oh, now we understand what the whole show is about. It's actually a show is about grief. And you get someone who's not human, who reflects back our own humanity, because they're trying to understand humanity as they go. And that was the idea of having an emotionless Vulcan as a friend of William Shatner's, Captain Kirk. And then Data was the best example of that. And then that's a little motif that they keep going back to in sci-fi and supernatural. It's a great way to reflect back people's humanity, having a character that's not human trying to understand humanity. So he said up here, look, I don't know how you're feeling, but why don't you explain it to me? Let's talk about it. And she goes, no. And then she goes, "Bleh," and does exactly what he said. Why don't we talk about it? So in the end, talking about it will bring you comfort. So she says, it knocks me down, and when I try to stand, it comes for me again. I can't take it. It's going to drown me. And then Vision goes, no, it won't. Here's this guy who's not a human, who's never had any feelings before. And he goes, no, it won't. And she goes, how do you know? And he goes, because it's not all sorrow. And she looks at him, it should say askance. Like, what? And then he goes, I have always been alone. I don't feel that lack. I've known nothing else. I have never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. Right? Get that? So then he says this, which I think is the whole point of the entire TV series. And I don't know who the writers are, but I'll bet the writers had loss. What is grief if not love persevering? That's an exceptional piece of poetry and a beautiful line. What is grief if not love persevering? Grief is, and those of us who've been through grief is intense and overbearing and can drown you. And the missing them is so potent and so huge. But we don't have time machines to go back and resolve it, like to bring them back. And so all you can do is sit in the grief and let it roll through you, because the grief itself is the continuation of the love for them. So you're rendering them immortal through your grief. That's the whole point of it. So bashing your arms against the table and screaming and going, I refuse to accept it, I refuse to accept it, I refuse to accept it, is to actually kill the flow of what's happening. Wanda is glued to the TV set, right? She's fiddling with the remote control, her eyes glued to the TV set, exhausted and strung out. That's how Wanda starts, yeah? And Wanda ends smiling her hands intertwined in love. So an actor's instinct might be, oh, she wins the scene, but she doesn't win the scene. She loses the scene because this hanging out with the remote control glued to the TV set being strung out is actually her objective. Her objective is to rail against the world, to rage against the loss of her brother, to lose herself in the TV set and deny what's going on. Like she will not accept it. She will not be comforted, and she will not find any kind of love inside of it. And so her objective, I think, is to shut down, deny, and sit in the anger of the world. And at the end of the scene, she has failed, because what she really needed was she needed to be comforted and to express her pain. Yeah. So that's her objective. Vision comes into the room in order to try to comfort her. And we know that because he says down here, I don't presume to know what you're feeling, but should you want to tell me, should that be of some comfort to you? You know, I'd like to know. So his objective is to comfort her. So his is to comfort her, and hers is to hide herself in denial. Does he comfort her at the end of the scene? He certainly does. So he wins the scene. The question I'm going to have is, what's his counterpoint thing? He's this entity thing with a stone in his forehead. So he's like a data, like he doesn't actually know. So that's why we have him confused about the feelings of humor on the TV screen, and he doesn't really understand it, is because deep down he really needs to learn about life, because he himself is in denial of what humanity is and what feeling is. So denial over emotion, or denial over love, and love through grief. It's two kinds of grieving. She wants to grieve in anger and denial, and he's teaching her to grieve in love and acceptance. That's what the scene's about. Y'all catch that? No. If those are the objectives playing out, then I look at the scene and I go, what's the breakdown of the scene? Ready? Here we go. Vision. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. You didn't? Well, I suppose, yes, I did intend to come in here. And now whatever is your preference, yeah, go away. Fine, leave me alone, is what she should say if she's actually going to sit in her denial and anger. He's clearly going to come in to comfort her. And she goes, that's fine. And she nods so he can join her. So bang, he wins. And she just lost. If her objective is to lose herself on television, not get connected, not feel anything, and just be angry, then she's lost. So that's the end of Act 1. Act 2A, is it funny because of the Grievous? He's trying to figure it out. No, it's not that kind of show. She shuts him down, and so they just turn back. He stares at the DVDs, which is what she's losing herself in, and her forlorn profile. That's the end of Act 2A. Wanda wins. So gently he says, look, I'd like to help you. Now that's actually the end of Act 2B. I wish that there was a line of dialogue in here or something, like Wanda turns to him or Wanda looks at him or whatever, but this is the statement of his objective. So that's the high point of the scene at the second act for him. So that's Act 2B. Wanda, look, here's my objective. I want to comfort you. And then Act 2C is this: 1, 2, 3, pow. No, the only thing that would bring me comfort is seeing him again. In other words, I refuse to accept his death. I'm not going to grieve. I'm just going to have white knuckle with my fists, stare at this TV screen and pretend the world's not happening. So that's a total shutdown. That's the end of Act 2. That's her highest point in the scene of denial, besides the beginning of the scene. And then out of respect, he doesn't respond. And then she goes, oh God, and she cracks. And this happens a lot, is when you win the scene, your counterpoint then flares and you start falling apart. So this is now Act 3. I'm sorry, I'm so tired. It's like this wave, right? And he says, it's not all sorrow. I've always been alone. And what is grief if not love persevering? And he basically wins the scene at Act 3A. That's Act 3A. And if you're paying attention, that's Act 3A1, Act 3A2, and Act 3A3. And then in Act 3B, they turn back to the TV screen. Now, the TV screen and the the sitcoms have changed in relationship. They go from the thing, her drug that she's hiding herself into, to the thing that she's sharing with Vision. So the relationship of the sitcoms actually shifts. But for a moment, he laughs and he gets a little embarrassed. Pardon me. No, it was funny. It was, wasn't it? Wasn't it? And he's not sure, right? So we've got his counterpoint, which is he doesn't really know what he's talking about. So that's Act 3B. And then she slides her hands into him and they fall in love, Act 3C. Is he says, hey, can I come in? And she goes, yeah. Great. That's the beginning of Act 1. Then Act 2, he's trying to open up with the show and she shuts him down. He says, why don't we talk about it? I'd like to comfort you. And she goes, nothing's going to comfort me except for him coming back. Bang. That's the end of Act 2. So Act 1 and then Act 2. And then Act 3 is where it all plays out. Right? Then she goes, look, I'm really sorry. Right? Oopsie. She goes, look, I'm really sorry. And he says, it's not what you think it is. She looks at him like he's crazy. And then he says, what is love but grief, but love persevering. That's Act 3A. They have this beautiful moment. Then they go back to the TV screen in which he goes, oh, maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Maybe I don't understand humanity. That's Act 3B. And then she goes, it's a, with her gesture of her fingers, says, and her hands intertwined, says, I love you. Act 3B, Act 3C. Grief through acceptance and love and letting go, or grief as something that you smash against, rail against, deny, and refuse. And then when you understand the entire television series, that's the whole TV series. The reason why she creates this Wanda world in which she creates all these sitcoms and everything is because she's trying to refuse the loss of Vision. Because after the loss of her parents and then the loss of her brother, she can't handle the loss of the love of her life. And that's the scene. You get it? So the character statements become, she is the human being who is causing me to, like the Tin Man, grow a heart, or like Data, feel emotions for the first time. She's the one and only person that I'd be willing to step out on a limb and actually wade into dangerous waters for. And I'm going to comfort and soothe her by, in order to walk her down the path of grief, in order to let her express herself and let it go, because that's what she needs, right? Otherwise, she's going to sit here beating herself up and raging against the world, which is not good for her, despite the fact that who am I to say anything? I know nothing, and I should just shut my metal mouth. I don't know if it's metal, vibranium mouth, right? And hers would be, you're another annoyance and another reminder of the Avengers and the pain that I've been through and the loss of my brother. And I just need to be alone, so I need to shut you out. So I'm going to minimize you, knock you down, close the door, and make you feel stupid a little bit, just to shut you up. Otherwise, I'm going to actually have to talk about this thing that I just can't talk about because I'm in too much pain. Despite the fact that you're the only person on planet Earth I would actually let into my room that I would allow to comfort me, because deep down, not that deep down, I profoundly need to express my pain.
Vision?
So this is her winning. If the scene went the way she wants the scene to go, she would just sit here forever, like for eternity, staring at this TV set, not feeling anything, and just hiding, right? Because the for her, sitcoms are the bomb that makes her, it's her numbing agent. As soon as this happens,
I apologize. I don't mean to intrude.
You don't?
Well, I suppose, yes, I did intend to come in here.
And now?
And, well, whatever is your preference.
and she should say, I prefer that you leave, please, according to her objective. And if she did that, she'd win the scene. So when she does this, boom, we go, oh, she's going to lose the scene, because that's the end of the first act. And his whole demeanor just changed from, I'm tiptoeing into this scene, to, okay, I'll be part of the scene now. Now it's Act 2. Is that?
It is funny because of the grievous injury the man just suffered.
No, he's not really injured.
Ah, how can you be certain?
It's not that kind of show.
So that's a shutdown, Act 2A. She's losing herself back into the TV screen. And so she still has the relationship to sitcoms, which is sitcoms are her drug. Now he tries his objective.
Wanda, I don't presume to know what you're feeling,
That's his counterpoint.
but I would like to know. Should you wish to tell me, should that be of some comfort to you?
He even makes it a question, which is great. That's Act 2B. He sets his objective and she says, go to hell.
What makes you think that talking about it would bring me comfort?
Oh, see, I read that.
The only thing that would bring me comfort is seeing him again.
Look at his face. A total loss. And that's the end of the second act. And I know it's the end of the second act and the beginning of the third act because that's when they bring music in. Music always comes in between Act 2 and Act 3. Here? Good. She then realizes that she won the scene too hard. He's trying to be nice and she just punched him in the face. That apology makes a connection to him, which allows her to then do the opposite of which her objective was, which is her counterpoint, which is to now express herself. It's beautiful.
It's just like this wave washing over me again and again.
This is lovely
It
behavior.
knocks me down. And when I try to stand up, it just comes for me again. And like, it's just gonna drown me.
Oh, no, I won't.
How do you know?
Well, because it can't all be sorrow, can it?
He makes it a question, so that was Act little lost there.
I've always been alone, so
Act 3.
I don't feel the lack. It's all I've ever known. I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief? If not love, persevering.
End of Act 3A. He just won. She has a moment where she's like, oh my God, I just realized what I was going to say.
Oh,
He then goes into an humiliation, Act 3B.
sorry.
No, it was funny.
Yes, it was very funny, wasn't it?
Sure. And then she gives him this. Actions she's playing is if you read the script, I'm sorry, I'm so tired. It's like this wave washing over me again and again. It knocks me down when I try to stand. It gives me where I can't take it. I'm going to drown me. If you look at all that, you start to go, oh, that's Act 1. I'm sorry. Apologize. Then it's explain. I'm so tired is the justification for her behavior. It's the explanation. That's Act 2. And then Act 3 is the specificity of it, right? So there's actually an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 in this little speech, which is why Elizabeth Olsen takes her time between these two beats, which works. I'm sorry, Act 1, beat, 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 beat. I'm so tired, Act 2, beat, 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 and then 3. So I'm sorry is an apology, right? Try to rectify what happened. She was too hard on him. She was harsh. And so it's to try to ease the harshness by erasing over what she did. And then that's not enough. So now it's, I need to explain or justify my behavior. I need to excuse the reasons why I was so harsh. She goes, I'm so tired. That's why I'm acting like a jerk. And then it's, okay, he's been so kind and he's been so loving and he's being so comforting and he's trying so hard. He deserves more than just, I'm so tired. That's the realization that she has in here. She realizes that that's not enough. He deserves more. And also her counterpoint, her subconscious is, I desperately want to talk about it. So it's like this wave washing over me again and again, right? I'm going to try to explain it to you. But what Elizabeth Olsen does, which is great, is it's that like is an interesting word. If I said it's a wave washing over me again and again, that would be, I know exactly how to explain this. But the like, the making it a simile is I'm not sure how to explain this thing. And I don't want to explain this thing. I don't even want to talk about it, but you're making me talk about it. So she has to search for the words. So she's searching for the right words in order to bring him up to speed as to what's happening. Because over here he's asked something. He said, I'd like to know. So she's like, okay, I'll tell you. So she is giving him what she wanted. So I'm sorry, to apologize, to fix the last moment, and then realization, that's not enough. I have to give him more. I'm so tired. That's my justification. Then the realization was that's not enough of a justification. I have to explain this better to him, and that's act one. That's why this little speech, I'm sorry, I'm so tired. It's like this wave washing over me, is actually a 3-act structure. She goes, that was really harsh. I have to apologize. I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize. And then she goes, well, that was not enough. I got to give him more than that. So she goes, I'm so tired. And she goes, oh shit. The realization is that was terrible. So now I've really got to tell him something. So there's actually a 3-act structure in that little speech. So it's like this wave washing over me again and again is me searching, using a simile to try to explain something that's inexplicable. It's feeling, it's emotion, and emotions are really indescribable if you think about it. So I got to find a simile. So she searches for it. And then when she finds that simile, it works. So now she says to him, okay, now that you understand my simile, I realize that you understand where I'm at. Now I'm going to tell you what it's doing to me. So I'm going to put you through it. I'm going to force you into empathy. I'm going to drive my feeling into your heart. It knocks me down. And when I try to stand, it comes for me again. And that's act 2 of act 3 of this speech. And that's when she realizes, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm feeling. That is what I'm feeling. I just described something that I didn't know I could describe. That hurts too much. I can't take it. It's going to drown me. Is now her decision to retreat into herself, shut down, and go, you know what? This is too much. I need to close the door on this conversation. I need to like hide because I just explained something so well that it's hurting me. So now I got to put the pot back on the cover back on the pot. Act 1, apologize. Act 2, try to fix it. That didn't work. Act 3, okay, I'll teach you something. Act 3A, here's how I teach you. Act 3B, holy shit, I really, really explained that well. So well that it causes me too much pain. My realization is I can't take it. And then my decision is to hide inside of myself. And that's why he has to pull her out. That was a beautiful question you just asked. That all of that has been worked out by Elizabeth Olsen. That is not a coincidence. She doesn't come to set hoping that it's going to work out, playing it by ear, memorizing it in the makeup trailer. She has sat and worked out that entire thing with her coach or her director or Paul Bettany, and she's figured out how am I going to play that and the meaning of the whole thing. So let's watch her do it now. Realization, that was too harsh. Apologizes. Then she's like, see that realization? The realization is, I'm sorry. Okay, you deserve more than just an I'm sorry. I'll try to explain it to you. She explains that, right? And that's not enough. So she realizes, okay, I got to give him much more. So act 3, here it comes.
It's just like this wave washing over me again and again.
She's searching for the right words.
It knocks me down. And when I try to stand up, it just comes for me again.
And the realization right there is, holy crap, I explained that really well, and I can't take it. It's too much.
And I can't.
There's the realization.
It's just gonna drown me.
She doesn't even finish the line. Did you notice that? She doesn't say I can't take it. She goes, I can't. And the realization is there for her. The realization comes between I can't take it and it's gonna drown me. Watch.
Stand up. It just comes for me again. And I can't.
Realization right there. Now she tries to now she goes back into herself. She literally dives back into her pool of I can't take it. So she's taken that script and she's dissected the heck out of it. And she looks at each of the moments in the construction of it. And she figures out what it means to her, emotionally prepares it. She figures out what all the actions are that she's going to play on it. And then she just surrenders to it and lets it happen. but it's all natural, accident, spontaneous, and flowing, all from somebody who has taken the time to really work out each and every little moment and realization inside of it.